Hello, divine creations, divine marvels, children of God. Thank you so much for dropping by. Hi, forever loving everything. Hi, Jason. Welcome, welcome, welcome. There was this woman I knew who she was a cashier. I got to know her because I went to the grocery store where she worked, and you know, she's one of the happiest people I ever met. And she's always joking, always smiling. She would sometimes complain, but she would even kind of complain in a joking way. And then one day she looked at me and she said, "You know what? The most amazing thing happened to me this morning." No, let me do her voice. She said, "The most amazing thing happened to me this morning." And I was just a little speechless. I didn't know what to say. I said, "Well," and I finally said, "Well, what happened?" And she said, "I woke up this morning. I opened my eyes and I was alive." So the thing is I personally forgot. I'm remembering more and more, but I certainly forgot what a gift life was. And Bruno Groening pointed out that our life here in a body on this earth is a precious gift. And he, like many great mystics, pointed out that our time is limited here in these bodies. I consider myself very lucky. When I was almost at the very beginning of my spiritual quest, my spiritual journey, I came across Zen Buddhism, and Zen being one particular school of Buddhism. And one thing they do is in Zen is meditate on the fact that you're going to die one day. In fact, that's actually common to all forms of Buddhism, but this particular maybe author emphasized it more. And so it really got me thinking, wow, I'm not going to be in this body forever. This life is not, this physical life is not limitless. Bruno Groening said on the topic, and I don't have his exact words, but in essence, he said, reflecting on the fact that this body is not eternal. I'm totally butchering what he said, but I'm paraphrasing. He said that's part of what leads to self-realization or self-knowledge. And I know it has for me. It's led me to the realization, the knowing, some days stronger than others, the remembering that I'm not a body, I'm a soul. And that the soul is eternal, but this body isn't. So let's spend a little time reflecting on the mortality of our body, the immortality of our soul, and the gift of one more day of life in this amazing body. For anyone who's new, I try to say at the beginning, I forgot. To anyone who's new, welcome. This channel is dedicated to universal spiritual principles, and very specifically the teachings of someone named Bruno Groening, who he didn't teach within the context of any religion or spiritual teaching. He just taught based on his own direct knowing of how life works. So we're going to do a guided meditation. It'll start off guided on receiving divine healing energy. This is very easy to do. Please sit with your legs uncrossed, feet flat on the floor, hands on your legs, palms facing upwards, back in a relaxed, upright position. If possible, not leaning against your chair. Then close your eyes. And have the will and intention to receive divine life energy. And observe your body while having that intention. Noticing what you feel. When describing this practice, Bruno once said, welcoming the peaceful quiet. So as we take in this divine life energy, let's really welcome the peaceful quiet. Hi, Magdalena. I could just sit here all day. Well, I feel so good. The feeling is like, oh, I could just sit here all day. Oh, I hope others are experiencing the divine presence. So for me, life is really for me, the essence of life is really simple. Be connected to God. Be guided by God. And let's be clear, be connected to God is to feel good. Pleasure and religion and pleasure or spirituality are often talked of as two completely separate things. My experience is the opposite. That the spiritual path is pleasurable. Yeah, sometimes it's challenging, no question. But the feeling of connection and contact, communion with God, it's delicious. So being connected to God, being guided by God, having faith, watching our thoughts, and then just going about our day and doing the best we can, striving to be good and striving to be guided. Thank you, Jason. You read my mind. That's what I want to talk about next. So let's just spend a minute and drink that in, and then we'll look at Jason's comment. That's something I wanted to talk about today. opening ourselves up to the joy and bliss and really even pleasure that God gives to us, the good feelings. Noticing what you're feeling. Bruno Groening said, love is God, and love feels good. Love is supposed to feel good. It's the best feeling in the world. So maybe this practice is nothing more than receiving the love of God, the love that is God. So many of us are drawn to Bruno Groening because we're seeking physical healing. I was. And I concur with Jason. This works not only for healing, but every facet of life. Because what we're doing is tapping into the power of life itself. And, we looked at a quote yesterday where Bruno spoke about life and God starting to move within you. And so this energy can do anything. I just experienced it yesterday. Friends, there was such a mess that happened in my life, a business, a contract, and 4 people involved, and major misunderstandings, and it looked like 2 people were being deceitful, and I had these huge experiences, feelings, emotions, and I lashed out in anger by email and threatened to get an attorney, which is, for me, that's always the last. Attorneys come last. First comes talking, and then if that doesn't work, then a mediator, then an attorney. But I wasn't even willing to try the talking. There had been a little talking, but there was like interference and 4 people involved, and then I had huge feelings and they had huge feelings, and then I made a huge mistake and lashed out in anger, and it just seemed like a hopeless situation. And friends, I kept giving this situation to Bruno and God and Jesus and asking for help, tuning in. I spent hours tuning in. First of all, just to overcome the feelings of anger. I felt so betrayed and like I'd been lied to and had been manipulated. Now people are going to try and steal some money from me. So first I had to overcome those feelings. And it took about 4 days. I would tune in, the feelings would come up. I would do some journaling, give the negative thoughts away, feel better, tune in. And I did hours every day. And then yesterday I had a breakthrough of like, oh my gosh, I need to apologize. Like maybe these people, if I'm correct, these people are being dishonest and manipulative, but that doesn't forgive the fact that I lashed out in anger. So I wrote this letter of apology, and then by God's grace, it didn't go through. So I just called one of the people directly. Email's the worst way. So many of our problems stem from Facebook and email and text conflicts. Talking to people directly works so much better. And I just kept feeling, and as I tuned in, I felt so strong. Call this person, one of the 4 people. And one of the other person had said, no, don't call that person. But I just kept feeling it, so I did it. I called them and I just said, and this person I had never spoken. We were working through like mediators, and like an agent was communicating with another, and I just said, hi, this is Arthur, my legal name, and I'm calling to apologize. And there was kind of stunned silence, and we had a 30-minute conversation where all the tension melted, I listened to her. She listened to me. She's actually a very good person, a huge misunderstanding, a major healing. Like I was upset and all four of us were upset, but it was primarily me and one other person. I feel so much better. That other person, she's going to communicate. And it just seemed like a hopeless situation. And friends, not only did the feelings lifted from me, which I'm convinced they're just feelings from the past, but I was guided what to do. I was guided to apologize, and I was guided to talk to this person directly. And I feel like I've made a friend. This person and I will now probably stay in touch. It was an amazing turnaround. And that's what this path is all about. Bruno called it the German word, I think it's Umkehr. I can't pronounce it correctly right now. Reversal, turnaround, radical change is what he called us as individuals and called all of humanity to. A complete reversal. As he said, Bruno said, back to nature, back to God, back to the belief in the goodness in human beings. So let's really sit with the fact that this energy isn't just for physical healing. It's also for emotional healing. It's for guidance. It's for feeling good. It's for resolving relational problems. I've heard so many amazing stories of healed relationships. So let's take in this energy and ask God and Bruno or God and Jesus or all of the above. Oh, Magdalena, I didn't know you spoke German. Umkehr. So let's just ask. And the thing is, sometimes we have to keep asking. I had to work at this for 4 days, hours of Einstein each day. But what a breakthrough. Oh, wow, I've got some German speakers here. Okay, because I'm about to start studying German, but we'll talk about that later. Okay, right now, let's take in this good energy. Let's ask God and our helper, God and Bruno, God and Jesus, or all three, for help in any situation we're facing. And the way I see it is that lashing out in anger, in that moment, I was a servant of the devil. That's how Bruno Groening describes it. He said, if you take in just one negative thought, you're forced to serve evil. And it was really true, friends. I took in the negative thought, these people are not trustworthy. Now, there were reasons why I thought that, but instead of exploring what was going on, I said yes to that negative thought. So Bruno said, you have to master your thoughts. And the way to start is one thought at a time, checking in. Is this a good thought or is this a not good thought? If it's a not good thought, firmly, ever so firmly saying no to it. If it's a good thought, letting it in. And while Bruno doesn't talk about it, or I haven't read, I'm sure he did somewhere, but when you harm others or do wrong, when I harm others or do wrong, I absolutely see it as essential to make things right. And it's very much written that Christ wrote about it. Let's see. Here's I'm going to read a little something that's attributed to Jesus. I'll just have to paraphrase it. It's written that Jesus said that, hey, if there's conflict with another and you're walking to the temple, don't go to the temple. Don't go to, in essence, don't go to church. Go and make things right with that person. Especially, he didn't say this, but I'll just tag on. I'll just dovetail to Jesus, especially if you've harmed them. Go and make amends. Even if, I'm really into the 12 steps, which I've shared about, and the 12 steps teach, which are based on the teachings of Christ. The 12 steps teach, if someone's wronged you 90% and you've wronged them 10%, go and apologize for the 10% and don't even bring up the 90%. You may need to bring it up later if there's something legal, but when I go to apologize, like I didn't even bring up what these people did that seemed wrong, and it was not easy, let me tell you. But it cleansed my soul. I feel amazing. Jason wrote, you sharing your spirit really helps live. Good. Bruno Groening was not a theoretical teacher. I started off my spiritual path studying something called The Ageless Wisdom, the work of Alice Bailey. I love it. It still holds a special place in my heart. I don't know if any of it's true or not, but it's it talked about different dimensions and different spiritual masters and different types of energy and the most intricate metaphysical picture of the universe I've ever come across. So intricate, so detailed. The level of detail off the charts. But it was all theoretical. Not all, but it was mostly theoretical. Very little of it tells you what to do. Bruno Groening, on the other hand, 99% practical. He very rarely talked about anything other than this life and what to do in this life. He rarely talked about what happened. A little bit about what happens when we're not in a physical body, but like 0.1%, 99.9% practical. He called his teachings Lebensweisheit, which can be translated as wisdom of life or life wisdom. Yeah, Jason, Bruno's my people too. And the thing is, he knew about all that other stuff. One evening, he gave some some teachings he normally didn't teach, and the friends were like, wow, that was so deep. And Bruno Groening said, that is like dirt underneath my fingernail, meaning what he shared that night. And unfortunately, we don't have a record of it, or maybe fortunately, because we may not need it. If we needed it, there'd be a record of it. Bruno knew a lot, but he kept the emphasis on the practical. So thank you everyone for joining in. Really appreciate the feedback and the emojis and the help with the German. So let's have a few minutes of silence, and then let's start there. So I'm actually going to read a poem from Alice Bailey, and then I'll preface it with Bruno Groening. Remember, Bruno Groening said the good will prevail, and he said that paradise would be restored on this planet. And so here's a poem that was contained in it's. It's not so much a poem. I feel like it's a poem, but it's a piece of writing from her book. Dissonance yet sounds forth, and discord arises from many systems. You can think of systems as galaxies or solar systems. But in the progression of the aeons, an ordered harmony will eventuate, and the day will dawn, if we dare speak of eternities in terms of time. The sound of the perfected universe will resound to the uttermost bounds of the furthest constellation. Then it will be known the mystery of the marriage songs of the heavens. So, friends, I think if I had to pick what do I want to say here? Before I found the teachings of Bruno Groening, I was convinced that sooner or later, everyone and everything would be saved, and that the universe itself would become like heaven. That first it would happen on earth, and some way, somehow, it would happen through heaven, through all of creation. And Bruno Groening, in essence, taught that. He didn't take it all the way there, but he said paradise will be restored on this planet for the blessing of all of creation. So let's really take to heart that the good will prevail, and let's really believe in the triumph of good over evil for every problem on this planet. That includes every problem you have, every problem I have, every problem everyone has, every problem on this planet. Let's take to heart, let's take to faith that it will be solved, healed, overcome by the power of God. I experienced it myself today. Someone who was an enemy yesterday, I was in tears with over the telephone today, having a heart connection with. I didn't do it. God did it through me. And if it can happen for me, it can happen for you. I've heard stories just like this from many, many other people. So let's take in this goodness and ask for any situation or anyone for healing, for blessing. Thank you so much, Magdalena. Magdalena wrote, "We have to do it also with the divine help." I think of it as a team sport. Yes, it's not just we sit and take in the energy and do nothing. Thank you so much, Magdalena, for that clarification. I'd like to thank everyone for dropping by today. I wish everyone a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful day. And please sit with what I said and let me know if you agree or disagree, or if I'm missing out a piece, that what life really is about is connecting to God, maintaining faith in God, being guided by God, enjoying that process, enjoying life, and learning and growing in that process. That's what I believe the essence of what Bruno and Jesus taught. Thank you so much for joining in. Take care. Much love.